Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of a watch along presented to you by American Scouser TV. Thank you for everyone who is joining. We apologize for those technical difficulties. We are still in preseason mode here as well, and that is the easiest way for me to make an excuse for Tamucci not being here to set it all up and make sure everything happens. I'm joined today. New to the daily match day programming. Haven't had Paul Vickler on a match day program in a while. Paul, welcome back. And how are you today? You are somehow on magical mute, or your mic has changed settings on you again. So we will jump over to Sir Z. For those of you who watch a lot of the morning shows, you know Sir Z as the one who is completely and utterly overtaking the chat. Always there for us, one comment after another. Zahid, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Gaddy. Thanks. Excited. I've never been on a show of Bickler before.
I was wondering if this was your maiden voyage, and you will find it is both invigorating, fun, and infuriating all at once. As Paul gets his microphone set, we'll see if he gets to join us this afternoon or not. We still cannot hear Paul, so it might be his most award-winning programming.
I can hear Paul.
You can hear Paul.
Yeah.
But I can't hear Paul. I'm not sure how that works. Tamucci must have rigged this system up even better to figure out a way to host shows and not have to hear Bickler throughout them. We will figure this out. Jamie jumps in with up the fucking Reds early and often today. And, you know, it's going to be an emotional match for us as we figure out our audio issues. If we have to drop out or jump back in, maybe I'll try if I have to too. But I'm sure we'll figure this out. Jamie himself had made a comment this morning, and I thought it was very touching, you know, how his supporters group weren't getting together yet to watch this match today because they weren't really ready for it. And I guess this is a good opportunity to say this now. Like, we're doing this today for ourselves because we're excited about preseason. So we want to honor and respect Jota as they're starting to show the banners and the kids in the crowd. That being said, you know, we understand that not everyone's ready to talk football. We will talk about the match. We will talk about Jota. We will mix in some transfer talk. But, you know, for every person out there trying to handle this and deal with it and navigate it on their own, you know, we completely understand. We just wanted to get it out there that we're ready to honor and respect Jota's memory, but also to try to heal a little bit and take those steps forward, like the club, like the players, like the staff at the club are. I think they've gotten lost in all of this. People have talked about the family, the supporters, and the players. I think people forget, like, the guy who cleans the latrine also went to work with that man every day and got to talk to him and got to know him and has to go back to work and do their job. So for anyone out there dealing with grief or suffering with anything, you know, just know our thoughts are with you as well, regardless of how you're processing and handling this. I can see lots of comments coming in. So please, if you're following us somewhere and you have a question for the panel, you want to point something out about the match, just share a memory of Jota or how you've been handling this last very difficult week, feel free to go ahead and get your comments in, and we'll bring some of them up on screen as we get settled in. So I'm not sure what's happening. Paul, are you with us? So it might be me. And Sir Z, you can hear him fine coming through?
It's gone mute completely now.
Paul may have to jump out and back in or rehook the mic. But we'll get to Paul eventually, and then we will just start to ruin people's mornings. Jersey, you know, you've been very vocal in our Discord community about how you process this. We all know you suffered a big loss in the last 12 months as well, on your family side of things. So what has this been for this week for you? Has it been a change? Has it felt... How are you dealing with this grief, knowing still what you were going through with everything else?
It's it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it happened actually on the week of my dad's birthday, actually. So I was already somber, and so when this happened, it was just like a it was like an extension of trying to deal with grief but not knowing how, and in a funny sort of way, obviously, life just moves on, and after my dad passed, and then it's like, you get your condolence messages from your friends and everything else, but within like 24 hours, like all my friends in my WhatsApp groups, start talking about football again, and whether it's narcissism or whatever you want to call it, I just wanted the world to stop. I'm like, wait, I'm going through this, but the world just doesn't stop. Your bills keep coming, and you're still getting spam calls, and but with this, it kind of I kind of lashed onto it a bit with my own emotions, with what I went through personally, and it's like the world had kind of stopped. And it wasn't just Liverpool fans. It was like the football world just stopped. A lot of clubs didn't announce whatever business they were going through or anything like that. And I don't know how to handle grief. I just kind of just bottle it all up, and one day it might just explode out and whatever. But for me, with especially with Discord. It could be like infuriating for most of the time, but it really just helped me get through a lot. And even just subliminally, like what I went through, I kind of just latched onto what people were saying, and it just kind of brought us all together. And the biggest thing out of all of this, I saw Heysel and Hillsborough happen, but this kind of reached, maybe because of where social media is and the global reach that Liverpool now have, it just seemed, for want of a better word, not to disrespect what happened at Hillsborough, it just seemed like it had more of an impact on the Liverpool community globally than what Hillsborough did. And you look at how far we've got in terms of the all four corners of the world, and people playing FIFA, they know Jota, people who have been Liverpool fans since we won the Champions League in 2005, was post-Klopp era. What happened was what happened to Jota just affected everyone. And the Hillsborough thing it's a legacy now. It's a lot of people don't know what we went through, and a lot of fans and a lot of new fans don't know that we took on the police and we took on the government. To them, 97 is just a number that represents, a big loss, but it didn't really affect them personally. But I think with this, it really did affect everyone. And it wasn't just Liverpool fans, it affects, parents, and, and I think you said, and my wife had said, like, poor kids, and that's the first things that they say. And, it's just a big thing. And, obviously, as Liverpool fans, we know how big Jota is to us. I didn't realise how big Jota was to other fans, and that's what you take away from it, and more than anything, you take away from what a great person he was. That's all anyone that's all anyone ever spoke about. They weren't talking about his goals, and they weren't talking about, oh, do you remember when he scored this or when he scored that? Everything, that all the tributes that you hear, it's all about how great a person he was. I think that's obviously humanizes him, because we don't know him personally, but it's humanized him. And it doesn't matter how much money you make or how many cars you have or whatever. At the end of the day, we will still bleed the same color blood, and we will still go through the same human emotions. And that's the biggest thing I took away from that.
Looks like the tributes are starting as we speak. They are, and thank you for sharing that, Susie. I completely agree with you. We're going to get to some of the comments as well. They're doing a really nice job. You can see there's some real sadness, but at the same time, there's support from both sides, which I think, to your point of what you just talked about, the footballing community, and I know what you mean about Hillsborough. I think there's a mixture there. There's a two-part approach to it. There was the fact that we had all the misreporting and the misblame. The other fact was we weren't in the instant age of interactive reporting like we are today in Twitter and X and all these things where, I remember it because it was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and I was a little boy who didn't really understand why there were pictures of people who died and why this team was being blamed. But to be honest, you know what I got told? I got told those people are all crazy that go to soccer matches in Europe, because that's what that's what the reporting was. And it wasn't even Liverpool fans. It was all soccer fans, right? It was football fans because of the pens, because of the way. But that's not what this is about. This is about Diogo Jota. It looks like, I think this is the Preston North End captain who is coming out right now to present a wreath and tribute and some flowers. I'm sure there'll be something similar from the Liverpool side. This can't be easy for the people in the stadium right now, because this has got to be a very charging, emotional experience. But you see the faces, and a lot of kids go to these preseason matches because they're the type of people that don't have opportunity to see these teams or these players play. So for them, it's their first day, it's their first opportunity, and I think that kind of gets lost in this too. It's like what those memories are like. So, Paul, are you with us? Have we figured the microphone situation out?
Let's see if I'm out of preseason form. How am I?
You are in full season form, and we could go back to 5 minutes ago. The world would be better. No, I'm just kidding. As this kicks off, what are kind of your initial thoughts? We will get into football as the match goes on, but at this point, I feel like we should really just kind of tribute to what Preston North End's doing, what these supporters are doing, because this has been a very nice start to this presentation for sure.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look outside of this moment that we're watching right now, just because it's so raw still for so many of us. But when you see these kids with the banners and like the tears from all the from all these supporters and the Portugal fans and or the Portugal flags, this is a tough moment. I mean, it's just such an emotionally raw moment for all of us. I think in a lot of ways this is bittersweet. When you look big picture, like the fact that we're playing a football match and stuff, in some ways feels like we're moving on before I think a lot of us are ready. But I think everybody sort of handles grief individually different. You look at so many cases in American sports where we had players play matches after parents die and things like that, like in the same week, in how much most of this is just a different level. So, I mean, I think it's really tough to put into words, obviously what we're watching here. But I think for me, the main thing is bittersweet, because there's something touching about this moment and brings us all together in grief, and in a part that sort of feels good to get through the grieving process together. But this is just a tough moment, and it feels like, you wonder if this is too much too soon to play football. But at the same time, we have to make amends with the fact that life does move on, especially at the level where football is a business.
I think the combination of the fact that they do have a tour that's starting in 2 weeks that they have to prepare and travel to, and they're not going to cancel, right? They have thousands and millions of fans in Asia that have been waiting a long period of time for this to happen, right? They don't go there every year. I think that's important to remember. And I also think, it is less than 3 weeks from a meaningful match. And I do believe that, these players do have big ambitions for this season, regardless of what may have transpired and what they have to deal with. It's, and I saw a fitting comment, and I think it was Arne Slot this morning said, this is a tough time, but they need to channel their Diogo Jota, because when times got tough, Jota worked harder. And when how many times would we say it'd be a weird match and it'd be the 70th minute and everyone would just be like, we just put Jota on? Can we just put Jota in? Because he embodied that we don't give up, we can do this on the first try type of a thing. So it's in a lot of ways, I think his wife and her parents making the trips to Anfield this week and spending time, I think allowed for the players that were maybe on the fence of what was right in the balance of this, like to kick forward. The fact that she was so openly supportive of spending time at Anfield and seeing all the, the memorials and the cards and the notes and the scarves and the controllers. Like, if I were her, I'm not sure I could have gone back to the city that quickly. But I think it was important for her. I think it was important for the club. It looks like they're starting the moment of silence, so I think maybe we should take that moment as well. So we'll hold off until we know that they have the whistle back. It does look like the players are preparing to take their positions on the pitch. We will talk a little bit about the lineup in a little bit here. But before we did, there was a comment that came in. I've received a couple of comments on it as well. So I just wanted to recognize Ozan Kabek. Yes, he played center back. Had commented in. Bickler, I appreciate your vid, man. I went through some major life changes around the same time, and LFC kept me going as well. And for any of you that haven't seen it, there was a short video that came out this week from a comment that Paul made regarding how important Liverpool was to him and his mental health and getting him through some of the toughest times that he went through, and how important the club was. And we all echo that sentiment, that we're happy that it helped, of course, and more importantly, that you were comfortable enough to share it with us, both on the channel and in our Discord community. So thank you for that comment, Paul. And more importantly, Ozan, thank you for recognizing it and taking the time. We've got a couple more comments in here. Nigel says you'll never walk alone. No one in this community ever will. Saidu asks us, why is Wirtz not available? I had a hard enough time figuring out how I was going to pronounce certain players playing today's names, as well as getting these two streams set up. I'm not sure that I've still successfully done it, but I have not seen a reason why Wirtz is not playing. Have either of you seen anything from any of the reporters? I mean, no Konate, no Diaz, no Virgil makes me think some of this was probably planned. But have you seen anything or heard anything, Z or Paul, about Wirtz and what's happening there?
No. I didn't realize it wasn't even in the squad until just now. I know I saw McAllister obviously not being there and Virgil, and after the only players that weren't available were going to be Elliot and Watson. So I'm not sure about the others.
Yeah, we can probably take a look here as the game just starts to kick in. Let's see if I can't successfully bring this up on my screen. I know it's a little small to see there, but ultimately we went with a starting lineup. Pop Mob never gets these things right, but it looks to be a back four of, obviously the new signing, the keeper, Mamadashvili. I think I pronounced that just 80% wrong. He is going to go by Mama and or Georgie before the season is over because they're all getting nicknames. We'll get to that at the front end, but Bradley at right back, Gomez and Stevenson at center back is what it looks like. With Simicast at left back, a midfield three of Ryan Gravenberch at the base with Trey Neone alongside him, as well as Soboslai in his regular number 10 position. From what I could see quickly, it looks to me like we are going with a front three where Chiesa is playing through the middle, Mo on the right, and Rio, as we are going to refer to him at least during this watch along, playing over out on the left. So any shocks there for you, Paul, that, you know, I know it's preseason, so you don't really think about what's a shock or what's not, but this as his first starting 11 seemed a little bit strong. It's a pretty strong lineup overall of senior players.
I mean, I think the only, like, you know, preseason's wacky, right? I think the one thing that's kind of jarring, you've seen Yoni in a center back position at 114 pounds dripping wet. So like that's the one shocker there. We know that these formations are never right, but there are some preliminary reports out of Liverpool that Wirtz is not in because certain players, Diaz, McAllister, Verge, are doing individualized training sessions instead of this match for whatever reason. So
might have been a fitness thing. It might have been something that came up on the tests, and I'm all for it. I'm a firm believer that preseason is about getting out kinks. It is about working through, you know, situations. It's about trying to help get everything set, and most importantly, get players fit for the upcoming season. And as long as that is the key focus, I will say this kid is pretty electric. When he dribbles with the ball, Rio does look like he's someone, even at a young age, that makes defenders fear them. But I know that there's somewhere in Chicago right now, there is a grumpy Turkish guy saying that he should have passed that ball about 3 dribbles before he did. And that's the next big step in his maturation. So why don't we start with him? They've got the youngster on the screen. There's talks out there of a very advanced conversations around a new professional contract for him that would tie him to the club for an extended period, as well as increase his terms. Could this be posturing with all the news about the optional left wing that's talking about wanting more money and or getting his contract done? Or do you think, Sir Z, we'll start with you on this one. Do you think there is real talk there that they're ready to make a strong commitment to Rio, a long-term contract, increase his terms, and then potentially either we see him a little more this season in the squad, or could this be with an eye to potentially a loan opportunity for him to get some first-team adult minutes under his belt? You're on mute, my friend.
I think with the contract, it's just protecting our asset more than anything. I mean, what is he just turned 17?
I think he's still 16. He's still 16, but yes.
Yeah. So, you know, before, you know, Madrid try and get their clutches on him or whoever. I think it's a bit of everything, and I think it's preseason. I think we'll see a lot more of him during the preseason, and see where he might fit in. I mean, you know, we did the same with Neone, and we didn't, you know, he didn't go out on loan. Slot, I think initially he really liked him, and he, you know, spoke, you know, really fondly about him originally. And like I said, we didn't let him go on loan. I think that might be the same with Rio as well. I think a lot will depend on what happens to Diaz as well. I mean, if we sell Diaz and we don't replace him, and knowing that we've only got Gakpo, who does have his little injury spurts, maybe Rio can do something, or we'll just use him for the cup games and, you know, man him up a bit. But I'd love to see a lot more of him in a Liverpool shirt. He looks it's kind of a breath of fresh air the way he just tries to take everyone on. But yeah, he obviously needs to add some intelligence to his play and know when to pass and know when to stop running with the ball and just slow down the play a bit.
Paul, we've talked about Rio a little bit. We have, you know, we try to touch on the academy kids. We also try to do what some channels and or folks do and just overhype these young players to the point where
Yeah.
we're disappointed that they haven't progressed further, and then we have to remind ourselves that they're literally not old enough to drive a car yet legally. So, you know, as we watch this young player kind of mature in front of our eyes, can see there's a player there. I don't think anyone questions that. I don't think Chelsea would have kicked up the fuss that they did had we not taken the player at such a young age, at such a low fee. It's very similar and eerily similar to the Harvey Elliott response that Fulham had when we took him. So what would you see when it comes to Rio? How would he benefit the most, in your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, like all 16-year-old kids, there's going to be a physical development, right? Like he's going to get bigger, he's going to get stronger. And that's going to be the biggest thing for him is like to work on his body to be able to like, you know, to bang in the prems and to hold up over the duration of a long period playing at this kind of pace and physicality. The thing that you have to like about this kid is he has all the intangibles already. Like he has the pace that's needed to be in this league. He has sort of a low build, low center of gravity, which you need at that, like, you know, until he hits, you know, he's likely going to grow, right? So, I mean, you're going to add a couple inches to this frame. I think the interesting thing with him is typically when you're 16 years old and you're good enough to make an academy like Liverpool, your biggest leap in development is going to come playing at the academy level. I don't know if that's the case for him. And that's what I think makes him unique, because I think some of the things that are considered sort of bad or poor habits with this kid, some of the things that you see in terms of like how long he holds onto the ball for are things that you develop when you're so much better than the level of competition that you're playing with, that you can get away with it. And I think he almost, for his development, I think that he almost needs to be playing with the seniors, like straight in. And this is not somebody that I'm saying, hey, like you can rely on him on a rotational piece, because I think we get sucked into that too easily. And I don't want to say that. Like, I don't think he's like, you know, I don't want to have the argument we had about Ben Doak where we're like, well, he should be playing starting a good amount of matches and rotating in. I don't think that's the conversation with him. I think the conversation is he needs to be with the senior team to sort of iron out these tendencies to hang onto the ball, because he's just absolutely running kids at the academy level. He can basically hold on to the ball as long as he wants to without any sort of negative repercussions. And, you know, you got to get that ironed out, because at the next level for him, it doesn't matter. He's going to get absolutely crushed.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I think I made that comment one time, like, and I don't want to say it with the overhype machine, but it does at times feel like he has graduated beyond the academy level, to the point where playing at the academy level, it's like right at the end of Phil Foden's time when Pep was like, I'm not sending him out on loan, but I'm also not letting you England fans ruin him by making him the future of England at 18 years old. So they were very careful with Phil Foden. Now, other than the fact that he's got a 2-cent head and terrible leadership, and like the people that raised him basically are as much of a heathen as he is, I don't think it really mattered how they did it, because he had already believed in his own head he was going to be the future of England. And I think that's kind of held his progression back. But Foden was doing similar things with the under 21s and under 23s at City. He was just too good to be playing at that level, to the point where it was almost like he was playing a game amongst the game. And I think that can hold a kid back, because then you get up and your brain, your muscle memory is like, well, I'm going to take on this right back. And you're like, hey, just so you know, the backup right back at Wolves is better than any fullback you've ever gone up against at the under 21 level or under 23 level. So Rio's an interesting one. While we were talking there about Rio, Preston had their first set piece of the match. And, you know, I could tell, I'm not listening to the audio, obviously, because we're running the show, but you could tell they zoomed in on the keeper. So I got to ask you here, because we'll start by talking about the guys making either their debuts or the younger players. So what type of an afternoon, like what type of a moment must this be for Mamardashvili, for the plain fact that not only has he waited a whole year to take this big step forward, but in addition to it, now there's the backdrop of everything else going on. You have to make your debut, you know, all the emotions. Like how important is it for him today to just basically be steady Eddie, just put in a good shift that he can build on and not allow for, you know, the chirps? Because let's be real, one mistake at the back and you're going to see Kelleher comments for months. So Well, let's start with you on that one, Sir Z. I know Paul is a big fan of the player and his talent. Sees a big future for him in the history of the club. So what are your thoughts on the keeper and just how kind of different this first appearance will probably be to how he probably envisioned it 18 months ago when he signed, or 12 months ago when he signed?
I mean, by all accounts, listening to his interviews, I think he himself knows, I don't know whether it's just sound bites or whatever, that he believes that he should be number one and he's going to fight for that number one spot. I haven't seen too much of him, to be honest with you. I mean, I know what I did see him in the Euros. I thought he was great. So when we made that purchase, I thought, wow. And it was kind of like, it was kind of sacrilege towards Alisson, because I can't imagine us having a regular number one other than Alisson. And I don't really personally want to be in that position where I'm actually thinking about another keeper being number one other than Alisson. So I think I'm biased in that sense. It was like safe with Kelleher, because Kelleher wasn't going to be a permanent number one, and I didn't feel like I was betraying Alisson by thinking that Kelleher was, a good keeper. So with Marmalade here, I mean, he definitely shot stopping. He looks like he has all the attributes. I guess it all comes down to where his footwork, and just from what I've read, and I can't go based on what I've read and other people's opinions, but it doesn't seem like he's that great with his footwork. But time will tell. I think it's a good introduction for him. Preston, it's not like, hopefully he won't see too many shots or whatever. And if you're not mentioning the keeper, then it means that the rest of the team are doing well. So, but yeah, it's a good subtle way to bring him in, and without all the hysteria. I think, if Verts or Frimpong were playing, I think there'll be or Kirkers, there'll be a lot more hysteria around them, around their debuts, and maybe out of respect to Jota, they didn't play. Maybe that was one of the reasons. But no, it's a good way to break him in against, obviously a much lower opponent.
And of course, right on cue. On cue, as we say, all he needs is not to be put in hard situations. The young center back decides to send a bounding ball to him on frame of the net, and he has to clear it outside. I mean, he got it off.
Was not pretty, though. It was not pretty.
And it looked like it was in his head the whole time. Like,
yes.
He couldn't have just rolled one back to me the first time.
Also, to be fair, I don't know that Ali looks a whole lot better with that ball at his feet.
There's a better chance that, we're not even going to wish it on, but we might have seen Ali use the outside of his left boot.
Yes.
And we all know that usually leads to 6 weeks of Kelleher. So I'm kind of happy that didn't happen there. There's been, obviously, Rio's looked really good. He's been bright. It's competitive. I like it. But what I've seen so far doesn't surprise me. The most consistent triangle that's happening on the pitch, the most consistent passing movements is coming between Bradley Moe and Soboslai. And in the last build-up, there was a nice kind of 1-2. Even Leone got into the action. So you can see that not much has changed. They are still funneling the pitch, tilted towards Mo Salah, and making sure that they're using the legs of Soboslai to get off and create opportunities.
I think what's interesting here is you would expect the leadership at the back to be coming from Gomez here, but it really appears to be coming from Gravenberch, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I always said about Gomez, my biggest issue was that when Virgil didn't play, I never felt like he actually made the step up to make others around him better. That's not saying he doesn't make people around him better all the time, because I think we've said it before, at their height, Joe Gomez did every bit for Trent as Konate or Matip did, right? And also might have been the better 1v1 defender at the time, at his peak prowess. So I'm not saying he doesn't make players around him better. I just think that when asked to also be a vocal leader, sometimes he loses his place. It was always my argument about Konate. Like, when people would say, oh, could Konate become the guy that replaces Virgil? Which is why I've been, and we'll talk about other signings and things, but I was a supporter of the Gahey signing, even though I think he's not an exact like-for-like replacement. I do think from a leadership standpoint, an organization standpoint, he's proven that he can support a back four or a back five. He can keep people in position. So they are looking to get at it, and this kid is looking to get on the score sheet, let me tell you.
That who was that turn by? Was that Gravenberch? That turn in midfield was nice.
Yeah, that
so nice. So good.
That lets you know football's back when Ryan Gravenberch's doing that to defend.
Makes me tingle a little bit, if you know what I mean, when he does that.
It's so nice. And I will say here, it was good there that Mo didn't get angry or irritated, but I think Rio gets one more Luis Diaz dribble from the end line to the middle and not find the parallel pass to Mo Salah before he gets yanked. And I don't mean yanked by the manager. I mean yanked by the captain, which I guess we can talk about. Mo Salah led the team out today. Are we under this impression that he has officially, I know it hasn't been made official, but do we now believe he is the vice captain, or could it still be Robertson, who I know the manager had said he was considering as well for that kind of honor, and he's not on the pitch, so it's kind of like deductive reasoning. But what are our thoughts there? And does it matter when you have a team full of leaders?
I don't
on that one, Bickle.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters for today. I mean, is there legitimacy to this? Is like the long-term, like, is he going to get that role this year? I'll tell you, my feelings on it are like very similar to Verge last year, where I felt like he needs to make some significant improvements in how he handles tough times on the pitch with his teammates. So if he can make that next jump, because we saw that jump with Verge this year, I thought there was a night and day difference in how he handled himself on the pitch as a captain this year. I'm all for it, because I think your highest wage earners should have that additional responsibility for that team and lead by example and be a voice of leadership. We haven't seen that traditionally from Mo. If he can develop that, I would love that.
How about you, Sir Z? What are your thoughts? We've had mixed. I've seen a lot of options. I've seen people say it should absolutely be Robertson. He's the type of leader. He's been here a long time. I've seen other people say, I like my captain to be a midfielder because they're right in the center of the pitch and they can talk to everybody. And in my mind, the first midfielder's name on the team sheet that also has shown some leadership is McAllister at times. And he, I think McAllister is an optional shout as well. So if it was just total, looks like Chiesa's one option.
What a ball! What a ball by that keeper, huh?
Yeah, for the guy who can't pass. Oh, Chiesa tries to bend it. You start to see a little bit. We'll come back to Susie. We'll come back to the Mo comment. Let's stay on this for a second.
Yeah, here Chiesa has it. It's two heavy touches though, right? Like those are two massively heavy touches there.
Yeah.
I do think you start to see some of the qualities he brings though. Yeah. And I do think the fact that he's playing through the center is not a shock, and it probably speaks more to being uncomfortable. Probably a little bit more to being uncomfortable. I can see they're doing the songs. Jamie's mentioning it. Unfortunately, Jamie, we're unable to have the full audio up and not have the echoes come through on the streams. I'm guessing that the crowd are doing the Jota song about as loud as they've ever done at the 20th minute. And I have a real strong feeling that is going to become a staple, whether home or away, this upcoming season.
This does just outline our need for a producer, though.
It does outline the need for a producer. Jamie, put you can send your CV in. But then again, we know Jamie is normally running the orchestra at the Duck and Dive, and is really the conductor of a lot of the songs and singing, as you would expect. As he is our hype man, and he is our resident. That glass isn't half full. That thing is overflowing with positivity, and we appreciate you. Owen Kavak says, he wears the number 20. So I guess let's talk about that while they're having some tributes to Jota on the field. The announcement came from the club yesterday that, and this jersey is in the image behind Susie. that Jota's number 20 would be retired. I think they actually referred to it as eternalized. And it spoke to me that it was not just his number being retired for the first team, that they're retiring it at the youth level, they're retiring it on the youth side. So truly, he will be number 20, and it will be that forever. Paul, you're an American sports fan. You grew up like I did watching American sports on television. You know the history of retiring numbers. It's a much bigger thing here than it is in the football community. What were your thoughts around it? Do you agree with it? I've seen some Reds say they don't, and they don't like it, and they wish they hadn't made the decision. I personally think it's brilliant from the standpoint that he didn't retire. He didn't decide to transfer to a new club. You know, he was genuinely taken as the number 20, and in their mind, the best way to remember him is not to have anyone else wear it. But what are your thoughts on the decision to retire the number, and what's next?
Yeah, I personally love it. Fully agree with it. There's no replacing Jota, right? So like, you're never going to replace his memory. You're never going to replace the things that he brought to this club, both in goals and as a teammate. And in this situation, for me, it makes this tragedy. It's not something that happens. I mean, I really think that this is just, you know, almost like a once in a generation thing that happens to a club, and like, fingers crossed we don't, you know, have anything happen this with another player. But for me, it's like, you want to honor the memory, and I don't think there's any other better way to honor a memory than to have that jersey up with that name forever.
Brian Shelton says that, man, this is a lot emotionally, and I can tell it is. I know Jamie asked if we were able to hear the audio, and because we're streaming this live and the echoes and everything, we can't. I will say, you can see, you know, there was just a sign of the kids holding up the jersey, and it had the Portuguese flag, and it said, you know, Diogo Jota forever, our number 20. There's signs all throughout the stadium. You can really see the emotion on the supporters' faces. It does feel like it's working. It looks like they're taking a cooling break. So for all the haters out there that want to rail on the Club World Cup, I guess it gets hot enough in England every once in a while too. So if they had that tournament over there, they'd have to be taking some breaks during the matches as well, because you can only play to a certain temperature. You know, the cooling break gives us a moment to, you know, maybe talk a little bit more about Jota. And I know we're planning to do it on Monday. Jamie mentioned, you know, I feel like we'll be mourning the loss of Diego forever, but also the player. He'd have buried that Chiesa chance first time, probably would have. When you think of Jota, the player, Sergi, or the memories of Jota on the pitch, not all the stuff we shared last week, and what comes to mind? Like, what were some of the moments? Is there any one particular Jota moment that sticks out more than the others for you? I know everyone has shared a lot of them, and very similar to each other.
No, the biggest thing for me was we signed him during COVID, and we didn't have a media team for obvious reasons, because of the and he did his own media presentation, and it just everything that we know about Jota since, you know, and it just sums him up. Like, he just kind of lived out what we all, you know, as kids, whether we were a Liverpool fan or not, you know, just you want to play football like professionally, and you can just tell how much it meant to him. And, you know, and he's just there like doing a selfie video, making his own little media presentation, and see the excitement, and he just kind of lived out all our dreams. So that was the biggest memory there. In regards to playing, you know, it speaks volumes about him that he still came to a team and knowing that he had Mane, Bobby, and Salah ahead of him, and he wasn't going to break that 3. But he also didn't let it deter him. Like, he saw Solanke, you know, Solanke was overwhelmed, and, you know, he gave too much respect to that 3. And Jota, he took it in his own way. And even though he knew he wasn't going to break them up, he he used it to his advantage where he knew he was going to get games, and he didn't over try. You know, he kind of cultivated himself to that front three, and he made an impact. And you know, the goals, and I've said it before. You know, next to Sturridge and Fowler, I think he's probably the most natural finisher I've seen. And for such a short guy, and to head them goals the way he has, it reminds of like when we had Riegler playing for us, and someone so short getting up that high and almost like 9 times out of 10 getting them headers. You know, they were just great. We just scored. Oh, did we score?
It was a big chance by Soboslai. Made a great late run into the box. Ball was delivered. I mean, he's just I don't know if the defender got a foot on it. Great delivery by Simicast. I almost like got sweet mixed up there, Paul. Soboslai.
Yeah, it's just like when you expect the defender to clear it and you're not ready for the miss, right? Like, I think he just didn't think he was getting that. Yeah.
Jamie reminds us of the heat wave happening. Feels like there's a heat wave happening all over the entire planet, and everywhere is a little bit warmer. But nothing has changed in any of the climates. Just ask anyone.
That just means it's past 76 degrees Fahrenheit in England.
So, we're gonna get back to some of the comments that are flowing through. What about you, Paul? If you think about Jota, whether it's big moments on the pitch, how you felt when he was signed. We'll stay on him for a few minutes here. While this, kind of they get back into the swing of things after that brief water break they took.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think of, I think what's amazing about Jota is like we talk about these players whenever we talk about players in memoriam, we oftentimes talk about their careers as players. I think with Jota, it's almost 50-50 where you talk about his career as a player, but you also talk about how he was as a person, which I think is a real testament to him just as a man, right? This goes back to the fact that, I think since Jurgen came in, we've really sort of taken pride in the types of characters that we put on this team, not just as footballers, but as men outside of football. And I think that's really his testament as a player, just as good of a man as he was. I think in American sports term, we always use the term clutch, right? And I think that is really, really one that you can sort of apply to Jota in terms of just the timeliness of when you needed a goal and you had to have one, you knew where it was coming from. And it was just a matter of getting him into the match, if he wasn't. And I just think that he was a type of player that just sort of took this team to another level when you needed it most. When you were out of solutions, or when you were out of sort of options and what to throw it at, Jota seemed to kind of pop up in a moment and just find it.
So I agree with that. I thought a lot about this, and I go back. Sergi made the comment. He was bought during COVID. He starts playing. His first matches are behind closed doors with no supporters in the crowd, which was a weird situation because you could hear so much more, and it was almost made it feel like they were training sessions almost. You could hear the players talking. It was just a surreal. And I remember him coming on, making his debut against Arsenal. And it's it defined Jota, in so many ways. He was on the pitch for 5 minutes. The ball just falls to him. You're chance, bang, goal. It wasn't his first touch of the match, but it was his first real opportunity in front of goal for Liverpool. And he literally just classic Jota, one touch out his feet, past the keeper, big smile. That's one of the moments. The other one, obviously, I think of fondly is, him just giving the absolute business to the Leicester supporters after they sang the disgusting, despicable stuff about, I can't remember if it was Feed the Scousers, and then they were doing the death chants as well about Hillsborough, always a victim. And he had just got to the club. He'd been there half a year. Supporters are back in the ground. And after the match, they asked him, why? And he's like, I got to be honest. I sat there the whole time on the bench, and I heard them singing that stuff to our supporters. I didn't really like it. I thought to myself, if I go in, I'm going to change it. And as soon as he got in, he did that. And then just the sheer energy and the celebration and then him going back at him at the final whistle and doing the big, and just it was great. And my last memory isn't as much a match. I feel like in the 10 years that I've been I've been watching the Reds like Paul for about 20, 25 years, but really fixated the last 15 where I've been like, don't miss a match, buy a kit every couple years. Like I'm pretty, I schedule vacations. I schedule days off, work meetings around when matches are played and have for about that same amount of time. And it's almost to me like I associate the kits and my memory of kits to a player. Like the black Warrior kit with the white lettering will always just be Luis Suarez being angry and kicking people on a pitch. And, some of the other kits that have been, but when that yellow kit with the checkered collar came out, I did not think I would be a fan of it. And I just didn't think I'd really love watching the side playing it. And from the moment I watched Jota score that first goal playing in it, and like if I see that kit, the first thing I think of is Diogo Jota every single time. And the second one is, I think it was the third kit from a couple years ago, the teal one, which I'm still disappointed that I didn't buy. And that kit is, again, like the moment I see that kit, the first thing I think of is Jota scoring. Chiesa here, flipped up. Bradley in.
Oh,
offsides. I'm thinking because he's not celebrating.
what is it? It has got to be the pass, though. It can't be Bradley that's off.
So is it the pass into Silva? Oh, no. Maybe they're just trying to celebrate too much. I think
just not celebrating because it's Preston. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here. That was good. And once again, it starts with Rio just wreaking havoc on that left side, right? I mean,
yeah, it was a great movement. It was Chiesa playing.
Here he goes. 1v1 comes out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's on. Think Soboslai is trying to shoot it, but I could care less. It worked.
Poor Chiesa can't even get the assist here. I think it's off Mo's chest.
Yeah. Well, and what's his name plays it. Soboslai plays the ball. He's trying to shoot it, and then it bounces off Mo. So Chiesa doesn't even get the hockey assist. But it was nice. It was good work there by Rio, and I think those are the types of like that intelligent touches that you see from Chiesa. That's what you get from a player like him. He makes good runs. He ends up in, even last year when he wasn't finishing, he wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. He still averaged like a shot every 4 minutes. Now, part of that was he only played about 8 minutes at a time. It's not hard to get 2 shots off.
But he's also been pressing his socks off this entire game, which is good to see.
I genuinely, I said it earlier this week. I think I said it on the Monday night show. There's more and more of me thinking that I don't know that the offer will come in that Liverpool wants, and depending on how much business they have to do, they may see Chiesa as just a solid investment at this point, for the plain fact that even if he plays twice as much as last year, which is still barely at all, his value will only increase if he has a good run of form, and they'll get that same 15 or 20 million they can get now next year, because he still has 2 years remaining on his contract after next season. And if he has himself a good preseason, I could see him being, the 5th or even 6th attacker in this side, depending on what they decide to do with the squad as they purchase them. Before we get into, maybe the second half, we'll talk a little bit about the business that needs to be done. Sergi, so far, 35 minutes in, I know it's not like they've been challenged much from Preston, but what have you liked so far? Anything, concern you? Anything bother you here?
Not really bothering me. Definitely Rio is impressed. Leone, when he has got the ball, he's made some intelligent passes. Chiesa's, I like Chiesa, so I'm automatically biased. So it's such a. I'm glad he's been actually really good as well. It's good to see a right back that actually defense. No, it's been an impressive game, being the first game back and all the emotions and everything attached to it, and bearing in mind like half the first team regulars or first team starters aren't playing. It's been a good game.
Paul, how about you?
Yeah, typically first, preseason matches are tough watch. Like the thing that stands out to me is that a team with only three first 11 players in the side right now, it's pretty damn it's good football. Like it's like they look cohesive, right? Which is surprising for this stage. First pregame, you got friggin' like 8 kids out there in some new transfers. So like to me, like this seems pretty cohesive football, which I think like just comes down to the manager. Like Arnslot has got this team drilled in as to what he expects and what he wants to do. So I mean, even Yoni essentially playing out of position, a back line with no starters in it. Yeah, I don't care who they're playing. This seems pretty. I'm pretty happy with this, and just in terms of the quality.
And then Simicast does that. Simicast fashion.
somewhere Tim is throwing stuff.
Somewhere in Chicago, there is someone that feels vindicated and accurate. But then again, the day ends in Y, so he'd probably feel that way anyways. I've been very impressed with Rio, obviously. I like the fact that we're seeing, one thing that kind of not shocks me, but reminds me and surprises me is Bradley literally looks 2 inches taller, 10 pounds heavier, and 3 years older. And I'm not saying from the last season, I'm saying from like the kid who broke on the scene a year and a half, 2 years ago and got a few cup runs under Klopp and then really played some important minutes last year. It's going to be really interesting for me what Bradley's overall role is and how it works for him this year, because as much as I love Frimpong and I think he's going to be a super exciting attacking option and in certain setups, I do think there's a portion of the fan base and the supporters group that may be underestimating Bradley's overall impact and the amount of minutes and starts specifically he might see early in the season, especially against teams. Like, I have this feeling that Bradley is going to start an awful lot of the big matches. Like, you're playing a Real Madrid, it's probably him back there. You're playing, an Arsenal or something with an attacking left wing. I think he's going to be starting a lot more matches maybe than the people who just clamor for new signings for the sake of new signings, and that's not a shot at Frimpong. The right back, by the way. We don't have to worry about starting a ruckus up in this channel today. But what are your thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Susie. I think I saw you nod a little bit when I mentioned Bradley getting minutes or maybe being underestimated about what his impact and value might be on this side going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to write off academy players and because they're not the new toy, and this, we just automatically take for granted that just because they're academy players that a new signing is going to be better than what we already have. So it's an interesting thing to see what Slot's going to do, because I like Bradley, and defensively obviously is better than what we had, but attacking wise he's not too bad either. He likes to run up and down that pitch. It seems like he has a good on-field relationship with Salah for sure. So it'll be interesting, and it's really easy to knock him because he's an academy player. But so was our previous right back, and he made that position his own. So yeah, it's I'm glad I'm not on the slot and having to make that decision, because the only thing with Bradley is his fitness levels. I don't think he's ever finished a full 90 minutes, and so I think that's going to go against him. But yeah, it's a great position for us as fans to be in, and obviously we haven't seen Frimpong play for us, or even as in the Premier League as a right back. So Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm glad. I'd rather have him in the team than not. And like I say, it's easy for people to knock him just because he is an academy player.
Paul, what about you when it comes to the player, to Chamberlain, to what you're seeing so far today and what you think we'll see as the season kind of builds forward with regards to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of Bradley. I don't think it's a coincidence that you're seeing players that have versatility in both positional versatility and combination. I mean, when you look at what Arne Slot did in the Dutch league, he liked to send attacks up the left side. Makes sense. You get Kirkes, right? He's a burner that likes to go up the left. But what do? You drop your right back, right? So in that situation, it makes sense to start a Kirkes with a player like Bradley who likes to get forward but can drop back and play traditionally as well. And then conversely, if you have Frimpong on the right and you want to send him forward, who do you pair him with? Probably not Kirkes, but you could definitely pair him with a player like Robertson who can stay back and play traditionally, especially as he gets older. So I think what you're seeing players that can account for scenarios, right? And I think the difference is we're used to Jurgen Klopp, who did a standard, like, essentially an attacking 4-3-3 and said, stop us if you can. And we're just going to mash the gas pedal for 90 minutes and see if you can keep up. Where I think Arne Slot is more of he's going to set up tactically a week to week the way that he thinks gives us the best opportunity to win and then make adjustments throughout the match. I think it's a much more, I think it's just a different approach, right? One plays chess and the other one just likes to go bowling, right? And I think that's the difference. But I think what you're seeing players that can essentially account for different in-game scenarios.
Yeah, Bradley with another tackle there, stopping a bit of a rush. We had one person in the chat mention that Lucas Stevenson seems to be a decent player. And then he followed it up with apparently he can play center back, right back, and DM. Pretty versatile. Speaks to Paul's point. Probably, if I were a kid, God, I would love to be able to go back and be a kid. But if I were a kid and I was in the Liverpool Academy or the youth setup trying to make my mark, well, one, I would hope that a 6'8" giant never came at me with a closed fist ever again.
That was strong. That was a strong play.
That was. If he misses this and gets Neoni, he dies. Like literally, Gumby falls in two, and they have to put him back together.
That was unreal.
But I think I forgot. If I were a kid in the youth academy at this point, I think I would be seriously thinking and working towards making sure that I am as versatile of a player as possible. Like able to play in multiple positions, because I believe that is going to end up. I think that is your way forward with Arne Slot. It's like he has to see you in training and think to himself, yeah, this kid can be this for me, but in a pinch, or if I change my formations, I can shift him into this pocket on the pitch. He can add to this in attack, but do this defensively, because it just doesn't feel to me like Arne Slot is the type of coach or manager that is interested in, I'm a right winger who does this, because I just don't think that allows him to be as, open with the in-match changes that we saw become so prevalent last year. Do you agree with that, Sir Z? Do you think it's different? How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, and that's that Dutch mentality, that total football, where versatility is everything. And, especially the amount of games that we play, and, we don't really have a big squad. So just being able to rely on players to take up different positions, like with Gravenberch, I think that's why I like Gravenberch a lot. You put him in central defense, and he can play in central defense. He likes Endo with that as well, where we put him as right back or back in central defense, and so they're definitely. I think these players, especially Dutch players, are just naturally good at it anyway, because that's what they're taught from young, being total footballers and just being able to count it on when you need. It's. I think a lot of this academy players or type of academy players that we're going to start getting in. We're going to see a different kind of batch that'll make it. And I think a lot of them during the cup era probably will be loaned out or they won't have the contracts renewed because they're not on the slot once.
Does feel like there has been a little bit of I don't want to say a clear out, but more of a churn to the youth players. I think Klopp had mentioned some of them by name. Oh, looks like Preston's going to try to counter here as the first half comes to a close. Potentially another.
It's really good positioning by Stevenson.
That was a good job for a young kid.
Yeah, he didn't overcommit. He stayed back, got big when the ball came. Yeah, it was just really good positioning.
Got to imagine these are just such big, important moments for these young players too. Maybe Stevenson, puts in a great performance today, finds himself on the Hong Kong trip. Maybe, gets into the first team setup from a training standpoint, which only progresses him playing with those guys every day. Potentially even being, a fifth choice center back option because, we laugh about the fact that Nat Phillips was at the club until just this summer. But, last year, if there was an emergency and they had to break glass, they would have gone to Nat Phillips as their fifth option because they had a senior player at the club ready to play. Good on Nat, too, that he scored the opening goal for West Brom in their preseason win the other day. Shockingly, it was a bullet header. He still gets his head on everything. But hope he has a really good season. I think he could. So we usually take a little break here. We probably will. I should remind everyone, if you're new to this community or you're finding us today because you're watching the match and you haven't already, please like the video, share it to your social medias if you don't mind. We would love to see some new people. And as well, don't forget if you're on YouTube to smash that subscribe button and you'll get all kinds of great content from us. All right, so you'll get a lot of content from us. Not all of it's great, but it's a great community. We do shows in the mornings. We do some evening podcasts that we record and release on Spotify as well as these pre and post match opinion shows. So please give the page a subscribe. We would appreciate it. And get your comments in. So before we kind of kick on and we start to think about what the second half looks like, let me ask you guys this. I'll start with you on this one, Paul. Do you expect us the normal 11 for 11 changes? We'll see a whole new side come out second half, and then maybe with 10, 15 minutes to go, he'll put on a few of the remaining players that traveled today. Like, do you think we'll see that, or do you think that he might let some of these players play a little longer?
I think with the first preseason match, I expect it to be a wide scale change, especially if you're looking at the heat that they're talking about over there right now. Makes the most sense to me. Yeah.
What about you, Sergey? You think it'll be a mass exodus of changes here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's preseason. I think maybe Marmalade stays on. I think we'll see. I think probably see about 6 changes now, and maybe another 5 changes on the second half.
Let's take a look again while we have time. We'll jump in here and take a quick look at the substitute bench. It is so large that we can't fit it all on one screen, so we will hope that we can come through it. What do you think, Paul? I almost feel like he might take the whole 11 off and put in either, like I could see Freddie Woodman starting, the new third choice keeper. I know that'll make Kazi happy. Nothing made him happier than us finally taking advantage of the homegrown slot that goes to a 47-year-old third choice keeper. But Freddie Woodman comes in maybe. And then do you think we'll see Robertson and Frimpong? Do you think you'd see Kirkes and Frimpong? I mean, I don't know. I know what the fans want to see from an excitement standpoint, but it kind of feels like Kirkes might get the last 10 minutes of this match or something to kick a
Could
few.
be. I don't know how much like Robertson's the one player that I'd say I don't know that you want to put out there. I mean, maybe Robertson and Nunez would be the two that I would wonder whether they get a shot at all, just because like I think with Robertson, like it's a combination of age and uncertainty. Like it looks like he's going to stay, but we don't know that, right? We don't know what's going to go on there. And like, I don't know if you want to put him out at his age and run a soft tissue injury that kind of like, limits your ability to use him here. It puts him in jeopardy of starting the season at full health, or jeopardizes the fact that you could move him. Similar with Nunez, I think that he's so, the possibility of him leaving is so strong. I don't know that you want to run the risk of putting him out there and having something happen. But who knows? Could be totally wrong on it.
So let's start there then. If it were up to you, and I'll come back to you on this one, Bickler. If it were up to you and you were making the 11 for 11 changes and you're sending out 3 more attackers, what front three would you go with, assuming Gakpo being one of them on the left? Are you going with Doak? Are you going with, you've already kind of made it clear you probably wouldn't bring on Nunez. Would you bring maybe Luis Kumas on, who had a really good loan last season and has shown a little bit at times at the championship level? Like, where would you go as your front three to start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going Kumas, Doak, potentially Gakpo. I think you could also, like, if you didn't have concerns about durability or this heat, I think you could also move Nioni up out of midfield. So, I mean, I think there's room to put him up top. So I think those are the 3 that I'm looking at. Could put Gakpo in, it's probably good for him to get a run here. I don't know that you want to give him the full 45 in this heat on the first preseason game, but I think those are your options in my opinion.
Well, at least it's Gakpo, and there won't be that much running done.
Right. Hey, that's true. Fair.
See, how about you? If you had your druthers, what do you think? Maybe not even what you want to happen. What do you think we'll see to start this second half in the attacking angle?
I think we see the front 3 change. I think Doak will come on, Kumas, and I think Gakpo comes on. I think we give Rio a rest. I mean, he's had a good shift. I don't know, but they're saying now, thinking about Chiesa, and he needs more minutes. So maybe Chiesa does stay on. I wouldn't risk Robertson either, just because we might sell him, and you don't want to risk him like getting any muscle injuries or soft tissue injuries for sure. I think definitely we'll see Frimpong and Kirkers come in, but I really don't think we're going to do 11 subs because if we get an injury in the second half, we've got no one to bring in. So I don't think we get full 11 at half time. But Nunez, I wouldn't risk either, being on the verge of leaving. So I don't think I made a definite decision, but I don't know. I just don't think Nunez or Robertson come on. I think the rest of them will probably get some kind of minutes, but there's not a whole set of changes in the second half. I think about 6 changes in half time and 5 come on later.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I agree with on the Darwin thing, though it's a double-edged sword because I think by playing him, everybody knows the plan is to sell Darwin Nunez.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the club wants any other club to have the leverage of, like, we have this player frozen out. And I think if they had no intentions of him going on the pitch today, he wouldn't have even gotten a jersey. Or, he wouldn't have even dressed. Almost like what happened with Diaz, to be honest. I think they didn't need the additional commentary following Diaz with everything that's going on right now, and it wasn't going to make things easier or more helpful, and I think that's why they kind of shied away from utilizing him. So maybe we do see Nunez come on, and then there's additional changes. The defensive backs, I could see maybe the young kid staying on as well. I think that's a really good opportunity. you know, I just feel like he's going to make some wholesale changes. He's got almost, I think it's 15 players, 16 players on the bench. So,
Yeah.
so he does have the ability to make those changes. The only place I could see is he's not really deep at center back because one, the club isn't deep at center back. And Jamie did just mention it does look like a whole new set of lads are warming up. So maybe he's going to make the 11 for 11 change. It'll be really interesting. If he does leave any of them on, I do believe it would be the younger players that might continue on, whether it's Neone, Stevenson. I don't think you risk Rio because I think he's been so involved. And I also do think that they, again, they brought these players. I think they brought them with the option of utilizing them and letting them run out. I don't know if we'll see all three keepers, but it'll be really, really interesting to see how Liverpool looks in the second half. And, super exciting if we do get to see both Frimpong and Kirkez. I don't know what I'm more excited about, seeing Kirkez literally tackle someone and then start talking trash like it's the middle of a massive match against City, or it's Frimpong on the other side just literally running around and bouncing around and Liverpool supporters just getting overly excited. What about you, Paul? If I asked you for the one player you're most excited to see in the second half, current or new, who would it be?
That's tough. I would probably go one of the fullbacks. Maybe Kirkez, just because we've seen it in iterations in another jersey in this league, and it looks so good. That I just want to see it in our shade of red. But man, I'd love to watch Frimpong out there too, just to see what you're getting. The big question is, how is he 1v1 in terms of defending, and how is he in retaining his shape and getting back and stuff? So those questions I'd like to see in practice. But yeah, probably Kirkez or Frimpong.
Someone has woken up the Turkish Stallion and he's immediately has Bickler on match day. What?
Yeah, I know. I usually take some of my unlimited PTO from American Scouser on game days, but here I am.
That's how you know it's a big and important moment. Or he just had a Sunday without the kids for once, so he was able to jump on. Probably the latter. But we've had a good show so far. It's been a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see where we go here with the second half. And I guess we genuinely, absolutely, Perez, Pito, rest in peace, Jota. Perez, I'm not sure if I've seen you in the chat during any of the times that I've been on air. So if you are new to this community, thank you for joining us and welcome. Feel free to like and subscribe there if you haven't already. We'd love to have you in. Ozan Kabek said, we would have loved to see Verts today, Gally, but we'll have to wait until Asia. Yeah, it's a two-parter with Verts. I genuinely think there's probably something little going on, maybe a stress test or something that they checked on him. He just wasn't fully there yet. I also do think, I think in some ways I know these players are all wearing temporary numbers in the 50s, and that has as much to do with the Adidas kits being released on August 1st. And I don't think they want Nike to have the ability to sell anything with Kirkez's name on it for a month, or Verts for that matter. So I also think as the outgoings sort themselves out, the available squad numbers may determine which numbers these players actually end up choosing, whether it's 9, 7, 4, 3, right? A variety of different numbers that will become available. So let's quickly talk about, before the lineups come out for the second half, at some point, Liverpool does have to get back. They are going to have to get back to the business side of things, as callous as that is, to talk about. And, other clubs are doing business. It's starting to heat up in the Premier League. We saw Kudus, Morgan Gibbs White go. Arsenal's buying. Arsenal literally has 7 Chelsea players now at the club, which is hilarious. Does look like we are getting Kirkez, he looks like he's getting ready. He's got that Hungarian helmet. He's ready to unleash that mullet. I'm telling you right now,
I know that he shows up to training in a moped and a skinny tie.
There's no question. And I'm telling you right now, that guy has literally got like Oakleys that would make like the Bash Brothers from the 80s and 90s and the Oakland A's jealous. Like he's got the razors. He wears them with a cutoff. Like it's not even an actual like tank top type undershirt. He's cut the sleeves off himself with scissors. You can just tell. Frimpong is coming on as well.
Oh, we're getting both of them.
We're getting both of them from the rip. The excitement is coming here. So
I feel bad for the poor bastards that are playing center back. What kid are we subjecting to this?
I'm wondering if maybe that means Gomez stays on the pitch for a little bit here. I mean, the only one they have on the bench, I think, is Nallo, right? The kid that got sent off in his debut last year. He was forced to come on and then got a red card.
I don't think we would ever see him again. So
I'll read out the lineup here. Freddie Woodman is in goal. Frimpong, Nallo, Robertson at center back, Kirkez, Jones, Endo, Kumis, Doak, Nunez, and Gap. So we have Doak in a midfield.
Doing the Yoni thing, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Or maybe, Kumis can play the 10 as well. So maybe Kumis is playing off the striker, and you're playing Nunez at the 9 up top. Could be a formation change, and he's trying something new. Could we be? I mean, they drop to back 3 and play with wing back.
Well, listen, I think the move of Robertson, the center back, is one of those, tell me you're getting old without telling me you're getting old type things, right? I don't know that we'd see that a whole lot in the season. If we do see it, it would make sense if we're playing very similar to how Bayern did with Frimpong, which was essentially they were playing a back 3 with both fullbacks tucked up pretty high up the pitch, which could be what we're seeing here. Maybe Slot's trying to see if we can sort of replicate that, especially with Verts and Frimpong coming into the side.
Yeah, Doak is definitely playing in the right wing. Endo is obviously in the McAllister spot as the deepest midfielder. Does look like it's a back 2 of Nallo a center back pairing of Nallo and Robertson. It's an interesting one, right? This where Louis Kumis is playing is pretty interesting. It does look like he's in that number 10 spot. So this will be a fun watch, and this will be so Freddie Woodman can tell his children that he played for Liverpool. I am a keeper at Liverpool for one day in the preseason for 40 minutes before they replace me with a 19-year-old.
That's a nice little ball.
Now, is that Gakpo with the yellow gold hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good run by Kirkez, though. You can see that he's going to essentially play as an attacker in possession,
which I think is exciting for everyone, especially those who are done with yelling at Andy Robertson for taking shots into rows.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is going to be fun. Kirkez definitely, I genuinely think he's going to be one of those players. He's going to grow on you like fungus. It's just going to spread, and you're going to love him more and more. But I do think he is a little maddening. And there was a great story from one of the Bournemouth journals that was on, I don't know if it was the Anfield Wrap or somewhere, they were interviewing about Kirkez. And they said, they asked every single player on the Bournemouth team if there was one guy that you didn't want to be stuck on the bus sitting next to for a trip to somewhere like Newcastle or one of the really, really long trips. And to a man, every single member of the squad said Milos Kirkez. And when they asked Kirkez, he said, well, I can't pick myself, but I'm sure if I did, I'd talk to him a lot. He's just he's an absolute nutbag. But I also think those are the type of players that I think the team and the side will gravitate towards, because there is one thing for sure. He's got an immense amount of talent, but as big as his talent, he has just as much upside to improve. And I think that's the profile of why they love him so much and why they see him as a big, big part of the future. What are your thoughts on that, Paul? And, what are you looking for out of Kirkes today?
I mean, I think
not getting a red card.
Yeah, like my first thought is like, how do you replace a personality like Andy Robertson, right? And you almost have done it in a weird, like it'll be interesting to see these two together, because I think that there's, from all accounts, and we don't know how this is going to play out, but it sounds to me like Andy Robertson has essentially turned down the opportunity to move. It seems like he's okay working into sort of a mentorship role for Kirkes, which to me is best case scenario. This is what we wanted and expected to happen with Henderson and Soboslai. That never happened, right? Henderson ducked out and decided he wanted the money. So if he does stay, I think this can only benefit us. I think the Kirkes thing is the future of Liverpool in that position, because I think he gives you a lot of those qualities you want and has the ability to get forward. But yeah, there's a huge ceiling here, and there's a clear area of opportunity and improvement for him. But I think if you're a burgeoning player, that was a scary ball from that keeper. But anyway, I think if you're a burgeoning player, right, and you want to grow and join a top side, I don't know if there's a better club in the world to do that under Liverpool, because I think the opportunity is there to safely mature and develop in a squad that's this competitive and still be at the top level of everything. So I think it's a great move for him, great move for the club. I think it only gets better if Andy stays.
Ozan Kabak says Darwin is unrecognizable with that crew cut and no ponytail. He does look a little different, a little clean cut. I will say he will recognize him quickly as soon as he drifts into an offside position and the ball is passed to him. So I don't think it's going to work with the referees and the flags. I have a feeling they're still going to see him out on the pitch. But I will say, I think there was a story out of Portugal. The last time he did this and shaved off all of his hair and cut it, he went on to have the big year at Benfica before securing the large money move to Liverpool. So whether that happens at Liverpool, I highly doubt it, or he finds a way out the club. Let's talk there for a little bit, and we'll jump back into the action if anything happens. But we started talking about outgoings, the work that needed to be done. There were reports this week that a deal was getting closer with Napoli. And then there were reports at the end of the week that Napoli was just completely put off by Liverpool's valuation of the player, and that they have ended all contact with Liverpool over Darwin Núñez, and that he might have to look to clubs in Spain and or Saudi Arabia, which originally wasn't his preference this summer, but he was very keen to join in January. So, Sir Z, are you still in the camp that it's, 100% guarantee that Darwin Núñez will move on? Are you thinking that there's a 1% chance that he could still be here when we face Bournemouth in a month's time? What are your thoughts on Darwin and what's next for the mercurial center forward?
I mean, there's always a 1% chance. I think, as you've seen previous seasons, when we wanted Lovren out and we wanted Moreno out and Origi out, and it was like, yeah, they're definitely gone this summer, and somehow, by hook or by crook, they end up staying a season. That there is that slight chance. We're not. I think Napoli. I think just Italian clubs in general just notoriously always lowball you, and they play out that long waiting game, and you get frustrated, and they think they can end up getting what they want. But obviously they haven't encountered Edwards and Hughes, and you don't give us what we want, and we move on. It's like,
oh, here we go, and they recognize him. It works with short hair.
Yes.
Oh, he's doing the Jota alligator. That's awesome.
There it is.
Yep.
That was great right there. And a lot was made of the fact that he was the first Liverpool player to arrive in Portugal and pay his respects. By all accounts, they were very, very close, both on and off the pitch. And we should say, as we're sharing all these condolences, he had also buried his own grandfather 48 hours before. and still made it. And we've talked about this before. That was not a shot at anyone who didn't make it. Everyone grieves differently. But those were the moments, right? Those were the times that we all get frustrated with Darwin Nunez. It's like you just dribble past the keeper and slot it home, and he'd take it one more touch and go wider, and he'd hit a post, or he'd miss the goal entirely. There is still a striker there. I don't believe there's a way back. Paul, I'll ask you that same question. Do you think there's a world where we don't get a buy, and in turn, the club says the best thing to do is suck up the $5 million and pay Benfica when he starts again, and integrate the player and see, is he the striker running into channels, moving defenders that Wirtz needs in front of him, and can you build something with a difference, or has the ship sailed? I hate saying cut your losses, but you do cut your losses, and still sell even if it isn't at the price they want.
I don't see it. I think he's gone. I just think the manager made it too clear, that it just wasn't the player that he was interested in really investing more time in, I think is what it comes down to. I think the difficult thing for me is like, we all saw the potential there, right? Like, I think we saw the potential, but I think what makes it really, really tough, at least for me personally, is that like, he's the type of player that has everything I want at my club. Like in terms of like the passion, like he, for all intents and purposes, is a good teammate. I think that he works incredibly hard on the pitch. Like I never saw him take a match up. Well, we had a couple of games where like, when he was dropped, that his effort was clearly down. But I thought for the most part, like his responses to criticism have always been pretty professional. I thought that he always gave a lot of effort out on the pitch. Like, so for me, like, it's tough to sort of like bin him and really just, offload him emotionally as a supporter just because he carries so many of the qualities that I want in a player on our side. But like, I don't see just based on what we've seen from this manager and the reports and sort of all the smoke surrounding what we factually know, it doesn't seem to me like there's a way for him back in.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I do feel like, I don't know for 100% certainty that
that's got to be a foul, right?
Yeah,
it seems like a foul. I think if it's not preseason, that's a bet. Like
he looked like he was looking right at it. Robertson looked a bit like last season on that, running that player down right there.
Yeah, it's the second moment that Robertson has. It's not great. So.
Yeah, we talk about players playing themselves into roles. I think that could be something that at times this preseason players might play themselves out of roles. And I do think like Robbo's probably one of those guys got to be careful about that. I think another player that might have to be careful about that, get the ball, might be a guy like Endo, as much as he knows his role. Oh, Curtis Jones. I do think, it'll be interesting to see. There's another guy there, Curtis Jones, who this is a really, really big season for, in my opinion. The manager's shown an enormous amount of faith in him. He's clearly the fourth or fifth choice midfielder at this point, so he's got to really fight. I think he has a spot on the side, don't get me wrong. But this could be a season where if it didn't work out, I could see the club saying, you know what, it's best for all parties, and maybe him too, right? Like that's another big key piece to that.
Noticeably not as strong defensively this half.
No.
Yeah, and I don't know if we saw it, but there was a quick image there, and I think that was Frimpong getting absolutely done on the long ball that he couldn't win the header, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, was it Neon? Or he's off, isn't he?
Nello?
Oh, it was Nello. Okay. I couldn't see it. That was around the corner of my eye. So, Jamie said, new season, new start. If he stays, I think I can afford him more time. I don't think anyone will write off a player that's at Liverpool getting a jersey week in and week out and putting in the effort that it takes. I just wonder if for the player, he feels like it's time
Yeah.
to make that step so that he can put himself in a good position, mindset before the World Cup. You know, I had called out the Napoli thing last January as an idea because I just thought like the craziness of President Conte, the fans, the pace of that league, I think gives him more time on the ball. And I just think he'd do a great job if he went to Italy. But I don't know to Serzi's point that they're going to come up with the money.
Oh, Atletico Madrid.
Also, don't know why out of all the players on the pitch, you're putting Darwin behind a set piece. But hey,
I don't think Gakpo thought Darwin was taking that. He just did this. And then patted him on the back.
Hey, Darwin's like, I got to take my chances when I get him.
That was basically like that time. Remember that one with Arsenal when the other guy was setting it up and then David Luiz ran up from like the halfway line and took the free kick. Now, he did bury it, to be fair to him. But like everyone on Arsenal turned around and was like, what's going on? And Sideshow Bob is celebrating with the away fans. Oh, man. This is when the rails go off. When you get into the second half of a full 11 transition preseason friendly, the watch-alongs usually find a whole new level of fun. And it's not just because Freddie Woodman's out there. But look at Kirk. They literally just played the ball out from the keeper on a long ball, and it was Kirkez who was beyond Doak. We might be seeing – I mean, it was Frimpong beyond Doak. We might be seeing that Frimpong actually sees himself more of a footballer that Kasi sees than what we were all arguing in the Discord channel, because he does look to be a bit of a wing-back / right wing at the moment. Preston's making some substitutions. We've hit the 60-minute mark. It's 2-0 Liverpool. Definitely a disjointed defensive setup here in the second half. I don't know if that's the keeper. I don't know if that's the Robertson-Dallow pairing, but definitely doesn't look the same. And I think it also speaks to how important Ryan Gravenberch is on the pitch, because it doesn't feel like – I'm not sure anyone in the midfield has touched the ball yet.
I think this may be the closest I've ever seen a footy match on this side of the pond look like an American football match, when you see like Merseyside people in the stands without a shirt on. It's just like the tan lines are incredible, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it does look like they are right off of a farm in Iowa.
Wait till they figure out how to tailgate over there.
Oh, well, they have to have a car park and drive to the matches. So I think they've figured out how to tailgate. They just do it in surrounding pubs.
They just do it inside. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Do you guys see that we make an announcement on Gehi this week?
You know, it's an interesting one. I saw some reports that they were basically, ready a take it or leave it bid. All accounts, he's made it clear that he wants the move to Liverpool, but I'm just not sure if it'll get done that quick. What are your thoughts there, Paul? I was thinking maybe Gehi would be announced maybe by the end of the week, and then they would shift all focus to, whoever's going. Tsimikas, Elliott, Darwin. I think then you start to – those are the guarantee outs. And then from there, I think you start to assess where else you need to strengthen in the squad. To me, it feels like the attacking options, those will be the things that are done after the sales. Am I wrong on that? Do you think maybe they make a move on an attacker before getting rid of the players? Where do you think they go from here?
I don't think they're necessarily going to wait for sales because A, I don't think they need to financially. And B, I think the problem with that is like, I think it's such a clear need for this side that you almost have to take an opportunity when it's there. Like, I don't know that you can afford to be opportunistic, like not be opportunistic with that that particular. But the longer you wait, the more dominoes are going to fall, and probably, the better the opportunities are, depending on, what the targets look like in that war room on the Liverpool side. But I don't necessarily think they're going to wait. It may just so happen that the way the market is, because it's pretty shallow, the way the market is may require some time, right? I think the Guéhi thing is going to be, love the player, want it to happen, think it's a good move for Liverpool. I think Crystal Palace probably is a little bit resigned to the fact they're going to lose him, but I think they may be a little bit tougher than we think from a negotiating standpoint.
I do think that is the case. I think that the dropping out of Europa, though, and into the to the conference is going to be big because they have to think about that money. He only has 1 year left on his deal. I almost feel like they have a better position to dig in their heels with Arsenal on Eze and even force Eze to stay another year than they do Guéhi. And by all accounts, they've bought his replacement for almost 40 million from Sporting, the Diamande kid. So I feel like they have to sell him. And if he says, I'm only going to Liverpool or I'm seeing out my contract and leaving on a free, I don't know a club like Crystal Palace has the option to play hardball in that situation. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will. Would love to see that one get done. Do we agree, and I'll come to you on this one, Suzy, and it's not we're agreeing that the player isn't good enough to play at Liverpool, but do we agree that by all accounts, Tsimikas, Harvey Elliott, Ben Doak, and Darwin Nunez are the 4 players we're expecting to see leave the club as an outgoing this summer, both from the players' comments and their expected time on the pitch. And that doesn't even count, Tyler Morton, and it's probably Tyler Morton as well. That's another player to consider for.
Yeah, I think Elliot and Diaz are gone for sure. Darwin, I just have that little part of me thinks he starts the season, and we might just end up keeping him because we definitely need an a striker or number 9. But who do we get? I don't think Isak happens this season. I think if we get him, it'll probably be end of next season because that's when we're in a stronger position to get him. Eddie, I think with Tsimikas, I just want Tsimikas to stay just to see Timoth's face. Just purely on that basis, I'd pay his wages if I could. Just to see Timoth's face. But we could go into the season with 3 left backs, and I don't think Tsimikas wants to leave. I mean, from what he said, even if he plays 1 or 2 games, that's enough for him. He wants to be part of the club or whatever it is. I think how Robertson performs in the rest of his pre-season will go a long way of deciding what Slot wants to do with him. And I think Slot takes these pre-seasons a lot more seriously than Klopp did. And we saw that last season when we showed up the defense and he started with Kwanzaa in the first game. I think there'll be maybe a surprise sale as well, a sale that we don't expect that's going to happen, and we get a bid that's too big of an opportunity to not take. And I think one of them sales happen. I'm not sure who, but yeah, I think we have one of them.
Paul, throw it to you regarding the outgoing. We've talked about Darwin, so we'll leave that one to the side. All the smoke and talk this week has been around Diaz. His comments weren't the greatest and at the best time. There's talk now that he's, really pushing to try to formalize a move to either Bayern or Barca and would even consider Saudi if he can't get one of those because he wants to be paid. And Liverpool made it very clear they don't intend on extending him. What is the price? What would the price need to be for you where that deal becomes one of those, it's just too good to pass up right now? And do you have to know who the replacement is and the profile of that replacement before you'd even consider it, sanctioning it at that price?
I think you do, and I think the club probably already has that person or those targets if they're not on the side already. I think that my gut is to think that we probably got a solution within the side already kind of pegged out just in case that does happen. I think the thing to me is when you put, like, obviously this last couple weeks tragedy rolled into selling Nunez and possibly Chiesa, it's can you afford to lose 4 of your front 6 players, right? And what does that look like for the side? I think it's a pretty tough proposition. To me, anything north of 65 gets Diaz done. But again, it's really tough because I think if you get rid, and this goes back to our conversation in Discord, I think if Diaz goes, which it is looking more and more likely like he will, then you have the conversation of like, well, is Nunez nailed on to leave? And what about Chiesa? Like maybe you do hang on to Chiesa, right? But like Chiesa is a very different player, and you've got to have somebody up top that has the ability to go directly at players 1v1, which is what Diaz is so good at doing. Otherwise, you run the risk of people easily overloading the side where Mo's on, and with no really. And to me, that's why Gakpo doesn't really work, because he likes to play with his back towards goal, or he likes to come inside and shoot from range.
Yep.
But he doesn't like to take people 1v1 directly with pace. And I think that you have, in this system, you almost have to have that.
So we saw it obviously early in this match from Rio, a very young forward. I don't think he's ready for that week in and week out in the Premier League, even as a sub, but might be able to do it for you in cup competitions. The club, we have been linked almost all summer to a really exciting attacking option out of France, and Malik Fofana plays on the left, is lightning fast, can play on the right as well, so he could give you some options during AFCON.
I mean, you got the Rodrigo links now.
And I was going to ask you, I was going to dovetail to Rodrigo. Yep. So, most people know Liverpool was interested in Rodrigo when he was at Santos and actually had an entire deal made out for acquiring him, and he turned it down because he wasn't 18 yet, and that was at the time when you could sign South American players.
That was an incredible turn by Doak right there.
Doak speed. Yeah. Oh, I thought he was going to touch.
It's a great idea. Good cutback too.
Yeah, Doak's an interesting one, man. I don't think he gets a chance to stay, but I also think he needs to play at this age. And I think there are Premier League clubs. I mean, to be honest, the shite across town on the blue side of things would do a lot worse than having a speedy right wing that already has a flat in town. Yeah. But I could see Doak getting a move. I could see Doak. I thought he'd do a great job at Sunderland, but they've already spent $100+ million. So maybe Doak finds himself to like a Wolves or a Brentford trying to replace Mbeumo. They could do worse. God knows they love to send some money to Merseyside, those folks at Brentford. So maybe he ends up there. But the Rodrigo links are intriguing to me on two fronts. One, Liverpool's shown a propensity to put themselves into a big, into a different price pool, right? The other thing is I think it was the Anfield Wrap I heard this on. It might have been another pod I listened to on my way to work, but they talk about how as long as Edwards and co have been running Liverpool, they've done basically player profiles of people all over the world, right? And they rate them in all different areas. Don't like seeing this. I think he banged.
I think he caught one in the face. I think he's all right.
Yeah, I think he banged his head, and there's not much going on in between those ears. Okay. He is not, Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't feel great.
No. Yeah, I mean, he might have just got smarter.
That's where you're hoping for a Jack. That's where you're hoping for a Jack Grealish shin pad.
Yeah. That's a good. Yeah, you need a Naby Keita shin pad there, which basically means it's like the size of like the patch that you would put on your arm if you're trying to quit smoking.
Just a coaster under a sock.
Yeah, but the story was that of all the players that FSG have ever profiled, right? Rodrigo had genuinely the highest rating of any prospect they ever tried to sign, and upside to everything they wanted to do. I don't believe the player. I don't believe he's done anything wrong at Real Madrid, other than the fact that he wants to play on the left, and they have arguably two of the top 5 left wingers in the world that they're trying to shoehorn into a side in Vinny Jr. and Mbappe. And I'm not sure it's going to work for him to get the amount of minutes he wants. So if Rodrigo were available and would fit into the wage structure, wanted to join, what's your thoughts there? Like, Sergi, do you find Rodrigo as an upgrade over Diaz in this current setup? And could you get behind a move like that? Because it probably means to me you're not signing one of the top strikers out there this summer if you're bringing in Rodrigo. I don't think there's Isak, Ekateke, Rodrigo type money. I don't even think you're getting Gyökeres and Rodrigo. I don't even want Gyökeres. But what are your thoughts on Rodrigo, the player, and would he fit in what we're doing at Liverpool? And would it be a smart purchase in your opinion?
I mean, he's a good player, and I don't know if he's necessarily an upgrade on Diaz, but I think potentially could be. He's an exciting player, and obviously it didn't work out for him at Madrid. And yeah, I just thought if Diaz leaves, I kind of automatically assume that we're just going to go for Anthony Gordon, bearing in mind that we almost got him last season. And we do need to increase our homegrown players. So I don't really think the Rodrigo thing is I think it's a non-starter, to be honest with you. I think it's just, I think we missed that boat, and just with the dynamics of the homegrown players and knowing that we almost got Anthony Gordon last season, I think that if Diaz leaves, I think that's a route we're going to go down.
Paul, what are your thoughts on Rodrigo as a player, a prospect, and a fit for this Liverpool setup? And if they did acquire him, what might that impact either from a squad building standpoint, or what type of profile players do you think come in or leave if that's the case?
I mean, I like the player. I do think he's an upgrade on Diaz, because I think maybe you lose some of the electric one-on-one pace that Diaz gets, because I think Diaz is actually faster with the ball at his feet, which is something that we don't talk about enough in football. I think you can have like direct pace, and I think you can have pace on the ball. And I think Diaz with the ball at his feet is almost elite in terms of pace. So I think you lose a little bit.
Sorry. We got excited there.
Gakpo's not
going to score. Jones was going to score. Kirk had offside. So I'm sure Darwin drifted. No.
I guess I was just saying that I think Rodrigo, I do think what Rodrigo brings is maybe not the electric 1v1 pace. I think he's got good enough pace for the Prem. I think what he brings is, I think he's more creative, which I think when you pair him with Wirtz on that side as an attacking mid, I think is going to create a lot of problems. The other thing I like about Rodrigo is you have the ability, if you go find a top end left striker, like let's say you add Gordon. Maybe you don't add, maybe the player that you add next window isn't Isak, but maybe it's Gordon. And then what you have now set up is you have the ability, if Rodrigo is not dead set on playing the left side, you know you have a player that has vast experience at elite levels playing on the right side. Yep. You have a Mo succession plan.
That to me is the number one reason that Rodrigo makes sense. And even if he plays on the left and Mo is at the end of his run, you just start to shift the left side being your fulcrum of your offensive attack. And you have Kirkez and him together on that side. And it does make a lot of sense in a lot of different ways. I just don't know. I never trust reports that a player truly wants to leave Real Madrid until I see them leave Real Madrid. Yeah, this referee has decided we're not having penalties today.
Yeah, they're letting these boys play. Yep.
I mean, he was tackled.
Yeah. Yep. There's about 3 fouls there. You could pick one. Yeah. Doug.
Now, I mean, to be fair, they probably just saved Darwin from having to take a penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like that's the other thing they did there. Like what would have been great is if Gakpo walked up, picked up the ball, and handed it to Lewis Kumis and been like, "You hit 2 of these for Sunderland in big matches last year. You can take this one, kid. We're not gonna try to take this." That's got to be a pen every day of the week.
Yeah.
But I guess we can remind ourselves it is preseason for the referees too, and they're just making sure they show us that level of incompetence we witnessed last year is right on full season form. They are determined to be as incompetent, the PGMOL, as they were last season. So Dokes look good here. Look, Dokes been lively. I think if I were a Premier League side, I would seriously be considering, what type of a bid it would take to try to get Doak out and get him on a full transfer. Now, is Doak the type of player you would want, Paul?
I think to me, like he's an amazing option if you're a team like Sunderland coming up and you need quality attacking play. Like,
Burnley.
because I don't know. Yeah, or Burn. Like, I don't know that I think the thing about Doak for me is like, he's probably not good enough of an all-around footballer at this level for Liverpool, but he is for a team coming up from the championship or even a mid-table team. If you want a rotational piece, he's awesome. He's great.
It reminds me of a Harry Wilson type of player. Just not good enough for top 4. Good enough for a team come up. I mean, I think Brentford was a good shout, like you mentioned earlier.
Nice to see Frimpong making a darting run there in like he's a second striker. Where that guy's going to pop up on the pitch, honestly, I think is going to just shock people all year. Brian Shelton, this is a good shout, actually. Palace would be a good move. I think Palace would be a good move for Ben Doak. The way he plays, his pace, especially if they were to lose. I mean, they already lost Elise last year. If they were to lose Eze, and really helping. I think I had a little internet problem there for a second. Sorry about that. Looks like Liverpool is under the cosh, and that's a good save by Freddie. Oh, Freddie.
That's just, man, I'll tell you what, dude, I know this is the first preseason match, but Robbo is really struggling. Like,
yeah.
No, like, I don't know how you look there and you don't step up there. Like, there's nowhere to even retreat. Like, he's just going backwards into his own goalkeeper.
And I know some of people will come out and say, "Oh, he's a left back who's being forced to play center back today." He's a professional defender at this elite level. You have to know how to handle yourself there. This is. I'll tell you what. If Palace was ever looking for a strengthening bargaining chip on your take it or leave it up your own on your Mark Gay request, this isn't the sign of we're in a good place. Jamie said clean sheet bonus for Woodman. I think he was most happy that ball, he didn't make a great save that was going to turn into an own goal as it bounced off his back as he got up there. But this has kind of been one-way traffic here for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, and Frimpong's going to have to be stronger than that in England. You're not getting that call. An interesting one this second half has been, but it's the first preseason friendly. It's what you have to expect, right?
Oh, that's tough. It's not a great header there. Kirk has.
Let Darwin do what Darwin does.
Yeah.
Now, that's been a topic people have talked about, the size of this Liverpool side, right? Like, we don't have Verts playing today. He's only about 5'8". Frimpong's probably lying on his driver's license saying he's 5'6". There it is.
There he goes. Set piece defending. That's tough when you got a pair of fullbacks out there under 5'10" and
So this has been talked a lot about, and I feel like I just willed it to fruition. You have 2 short, smaller fullbacks. You have a new attacking number 10 that is not an overly large individual, you assume McAllister will be on the first team starting 11. So you're starting to really talk about a smaller size team. We're talking about selling Darwin, which is also taking away not only one of your tallest players, but also probably, as scary as it is, one of your best defensive players on set pieces. You know, I used to always joke Harry Kane was Spurs' best defender on set pieces because he cleared like every single corner, it felt like. And Darwin does that an awful lot. I think he led the Premier League, even with the minutes he had, for front post clearances last year. That also could be because no one else on Liverpool's side clears a header that comes in other than Van Dijk. Do you have concerns over the size issues? Do you think that that could change the way that they look at other additional signings, or do they have to worry about it? You know, Gakpo, Gravenberch, that offers enough height as long as you have, you know, Van Dijk, Konate, etc. Either one on the size of the squad, overall height.
The size worrying, but I think knowing that we've got Virgil coming in and potentially Konate if he stays coming out, I think that'll kind of like nullify that. You were talking about earlier on about playing yourself out of the squad. I think Robbo's doing everything he can to play himself out of this, out of the first team next season.
Paul, what about you? Size of the squad, worries about it? Oh, almost again.
I do think that Klopp kind of created and placed an emphasis on size. And that probably helps that he's like, 6'4", right? So, like, I mean, he probably has seen this thing and kind of has a philosophy around it. It does feel like it's becoming a problem for us. I know historically we've had set piece problems in the past that we sort of ironed out. And I think we're back to where we probably need to start looking at addressing that. But yeah, man, if you look at these additions between Frimpong, Kirkez, Verts, all these guys are pretty small. So, I mean, you got Gravenberch in the mids, Soboslai's average, right? But like, I mean, I think what you miss, I mean, we talk about missing Jota. With Jota, he at least, you know, he got up and headed the ball and defended even as a smaller guy. So like, there's going to have to be some emphasis on this. But yeah, this is getting ugly, just all around in general. This is starting to look like everything the first half wasn't for us. So.
Jamie shares here, random fact of the morning. Number 27 for Preston is a former kickboxing world champ. That's great information. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know how those skills translate, but obviously, yeah, Brian Shelton says that back pass from Robo is criminal. So was the slow touch by Freddie Woodman, but
yeah, that was probably the bigger issue.
Yeah, I think both were not very good. Both are struggling. Another thing that led to that break was, I think for the second or third time now, Endo's been caught on the ball, unable to get the ball out of his feet. There was some talk that, and you know, Sir Z brought this up earlier with the homegrown numbers, that there's a chance that Endo ends up basically being sacrificed for the Premier League squad if they have homegrown issues, because he probably would be deemed the player that could most likely be left off. Do you think it's absolute guarantee that Endo is here all season? Specifically, if he were told, like, we're not registering you for the Premier League, you're going to play in cup competitions and maybe UEFA competitions. Like, Sir Z, could you see a world where they decide to make a move there and maybe even keep one of the younger kids, whether it's McConnell, Morton, or even Bacetic as the 6th or 7th break glass midfielder?
I forgot about Bacetic. I don't. Do you really see? I don't see him getting in. I think between his injuries, and I don't think he sacrifices Endo over Bacetic.
But he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to register Bacetic. That's the thing. At his age, he doesn't have to be registered. So, you know, they are right at it. Like, if they don't sell multiple, like we're talking about Chiesa staying. If this is in a world Diaz doesn't get sold, you know, they can only register 17 non-homegrown talent. So right now, I'd argue Endo is the 17th guy being registered. So that's where I'm thinking. So, Paul, I know you're a big fan of the player, and more or less what he brings. Oh, that's a great dummy.
Nice, yeah.
Darwin's
That was
having
nice.
himself an afternoon. He's saying, Napoli, raise that bid, Napoli. So what are the thoughts there for you, Paul, when it comes to, the tough decisions that might need to be made around the squad, depending on how it's finally constructed?
Yeah, it is a tough decision. I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, you're looking at a player who is up there in age. What you get from him, though, is the leadership and the utility that you want there. But I do think, like, probably from a quality and an age combination, you probably have an expendable part if you were forced to, right? So, like, I think that's probably, it makes sense to me. I don't think, you don't want to, but, like, you're not making decisions on what you want to do sometimes at this level, right? I think if you were to ask the club what they want to do with Diaz, they'd probably want to keep him, right? But like, I think at the end of the day, this is a business, so you're just forced to make tough decisions. It makes sense to me as to why he'd be the expendable part if you're running into a homegrown issue.
Jamie said, dummy is the assist there. Couldn't agree more. That's a great job by Darwin. It is funny. Yes, show the belly. Get the belly on the screen. Like, that's the amazing part. Like, this guy's holding up a thing, blocking off everything, but doesn't realize his shirt fit 3 years ago when he was 2 sizes smaller. We love you, Liverpool supporters. We always will. Robert, what are you doing?
Yeah, this is rough half for Robbo. I don't know if he took the summer completely off, but yeah, this is rough.
Yeah, Robbo's had a tough one. Endo and Jones haven't been great, but haven't been poor. The midfield's just been run through, to be honest. I genuinely don't remember really Frimpong ever impacting the match and getting into it. Nope. I thought Kunis has actually looked good with his runs, been pretty intelligent with his movement. But this is a huge drop off from the first half, that's for sure.
I mean, I think it just goes to show you how important players in the midfield are. Like, this game had fluidity and cohesiveness when we had Soboslai and Gravenberch in there, right? So, big drop here.
Yeah, big drop. Happy for Darwin that he got his goal. I really am happy that he was, in a positive position there and helped Cody get that goal. I think it's good for Gakpo to get off the board too, because I do think we're going to need to see that they chip in and spread the goals around this coming season, because I just think relying on Salah the way we did, especially early last season, is not a recipe for long-standing success, in my opinion, as great as he's been for all the years. I would love to see Gakpo get off firing if Darwin's here. I thought Chiesa looked bright at times in the first half, played a part in the first goal. So I guess we got a couple minutes left here. We're not going to do a big post-match show today. We've been on for 2 hours. I'm sure people are probably done listening to us. Yeah. Sir Z, we'll start with you. Takeaway from today could be maybe a player that you really enjoyed, a player you liked, something you were surprised about, or horrified by. What's your key thing? What's your first takeaway here?
I like Rio. He just it's very direct, and it's like as Vicky was mentioning before, we forget to see players that run fast with the ball, and he's one of them. He's direct, he's fast with the ball. So definitely the stand-up player of the game. And Darwin, for all the crap that we give Darwin, I made up for him today. He, we saw what happened, with that Jota thing, and having the same week as his granddad, and then to get this goal and then the semi-assist, he's had a good game. So yeah, those are two standouts for me, and obviously Robbo for different reasons completely.
So that's the final whistle. Looks like Arm Slot congratulating the coaching staff for Preston. Obviously, lots of emotions in the crowd. Paul, as we start to wrap up here, what about you? What stuck out to you today? Any key players you want to highlight, moments that you were excited about, things you're worried about? And then we'll wrap it up.
I mean, I think lowlights have to, obviously we've talked about it. I thought Robbo struggled tremendously. And I think the things that are alarming about that are they appear to be things that are physical drop-offs, right? Not mental issues. So like that's alarming to me. I thought the new kids that I was excited to see, the fullbacks, look like kids that are at their first day of school and still trying to figure out where class is. So I think like there's work to do with just getting them familiar with like the system and the players. I thought the highlights for me, we hit on Rio just looking like a problem in general. I think we have to keep in mind the level of competition here with Rio. Like he's 16 years old. He's playing against the lower division side. I don't know that he causes those issues against top level talent. So, but there's a player there for sure. And I think, we talked about some of the other highlights. I think the one that we didn't talk about that I thought was quietly very, very solid was Stevenson. I thought he had a really, really quietly solid first half for a kid getting the start. And I think if you're starting in your first preseason match, I think that's a little bit of a hat tip from the manager. So I think he deserved to be there and he proved it today.
Yeah, I'd say if any one player outside of Darwin, he takes his goal, he does a nice job with the dummy, doesn't get greedy or selfish there, right? He sets up Cody. Thought Darwin covered himself and an extended level of glory, right? I love this, them clapping off and respectfully, listening. They're singing the Jota song. The whole team is there. I think we're going to see a lot of this, especially at the beginning of the year. So for the players, I'm really happy that they were able to kind of find this day and this level, and they're zooming in on Darwin, who seems very, very stoically emotional at this point. This is what they needed. So my big takeaway is I think this was exactly what was needed, because I do think there's hard work to be done over the next 2 weeks preparing to go on that tour of Asia, and I think we'll see a different team when they line up to play AC Milan. I think, is it next weekend or the weekend after? I think it's 2 weeks from today, maybe, the next match. But really excited. Got me excited for the first match against Bournemouth. And I know Jamie mentioned he wasn't sure if he was ready for this or not. And then 5 minutes in was like, damn, I'm ready for this. I kind of feel that way now. Like Paul and I talked how we were nervous a little bit of what we were going to talk about and how emotional we would get last Monday night when we resumed our shows for American Scouser TV. And, I feel now like just seeing both sets of supporters and the love for Jota and the love for the guys that are still wearing the uni, and just everything around it. I'm made up for this season. I think it could be really, really special. It's not going to be easy by any means. I also think that those training warm-up kits are fire, and I might need to go get myself one. But yeah, you just see these players, and you just realize how deep this squad is and how much talent they have surrounding the club at the moment, and everything they're doing for the supporters. And, the referees are there. This is a touching tribute by everyone there representing our club, and I'm just really, really proud of how this has started and what's going to happen. Any final thoughts from either of you as we wrap this thing up?
Good to watch football again, right? I mean, I think that's the thing. We talked about how much we needed this. I think the lads needed to just get out on the pitch and feel this one out. And I think I think this season, whether it's going to be preseason or the duration of a title challenge or a title defense, is going to be for Jota. So I think ultimately this is a side that's cohesive enough, has a much talent to challenge. And I think ultimately, we can hang our season on the fact that we're doing this in remembrance of one of our favorite all-timers at Liverpool. And I think that this preseason match was really about these guys getting out there and doing it for him.
Anything to add to that, Sir Z, as we get ready to sign off here? Give everybody their Sunday back.
I think we needed this. I wasn't ready for this, but it's happened, and I'm glad it's happened. And I think it kind of draws a line in the sand with between the mourning and being able to get on with business now. I mean, for want of a better word, I'd rather we played this game where the players get to kind of celebrate Jota's life with the fans. And the players needed this, the club needed this, the fans needed this, and now we can kind of get back to football business as of tomorrow, and it just doesn't seem insensitive from the club or anyone else. So this was great.
All right. Jamie said results don't matter. The preseason performance arguably today was about getting the lads out there for Drogo. And I couldn't agree with him more. It's a great way to kind of push this off. Ozan Kabak said, emotional day. Really glad to see the lads on the pitch. Thank you, gents, for donating your time. Thank you, Ozan, for all your comments and for always supporting the channel. I want to thank everyone that has left a comment, shared, subscribed today. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't easy to do. We are going to try to do more watch-alongs and match day content. If you have ideas of ways we can better do these shows, ways we can help communicate better, ways we can format the programming, please don't hesitate to send us a message. We are always looking for feedback to get better. But for everybody at American Scouser TV, for Bickler and Sir Z, I want to wish all of you a happy first preseason win day. Enjoy your Sunday, whatever you're doing with your friends and family. Just remember, as we talked about all week, life's way too short to go to bed angry or be frustrated with people you care about. Or for that matter, strangers you don't. So get out there, enjoy yourselves. We'll be back with more programming this week. I want to say a quick hello. We have a new viewer from Cape Town, South Africa. We appreciate you finding us. We're just getting ready to go off. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and you can get in. We'll be back Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, the Monday and Thursday night podcast. We have the Premier League panel show, so we're really kicking the content off. But as we've said a bunch of times, just get out there and enjoy yourself, spend time with the loved ones you have, and be good to people. And that's probably the easiest way we can sign this thing off. So have a great week. Up the Reds.